Kelly Whitmore absolutely did not need to go out tonight. He was perfectly comfortable sprawled on his bed in his bedroom, scrolling through drama-filled group chats and sipping sparkling water like the responsible guy he was. But unfortunately, Ariana DeLuca existed. She stood in the middle of his room, hands on her hips impatiently. She was Kelly's best friend, his enabler, his worst influence. "You," she said, pointing at him, "are going out tonight." Kelly didn't even look up. "No, I'm not. You literally haven't left this house for anything except school in 3 weeks." "That's called self-care," Kelly replied lazily. "Google it." Ariana rolled her eyes so hard. "There's an exclusive party at the Vale Mansion. Half the senior class will be there. The juniors too. And," she added sweetly, "the transfer student." That made Kelly pause, just for a second. "Which one?" he asked, still pretending not to care. Ariana smirked. "James. Ah, that James, the dangerous one. The one who got expelled from 3 schools for unknown reasons, which only made people whisper." Kelly scoffed. "Please, I'm not interested." "Liar," Ariana said immediately. "You live for drama." Kelly finally looked up at her, blinking innocently. "Okay, maybe, but I can't go." "Why not?" He gestured at himself. "I don't have an outfit." Ariana's smile widened. Kelly felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Why are you smiling like that?" Without answering, Ariana reached for her big Coach bag and pulled out a Ziploc shopping bag. "No," Kelly said, sitting up. "No, whatever that is, put it back." "Oh, relax," she said cheerfully, unzipping the bag. "I knew you'd say you didn't have anything to wear." Kelly stared in horror as she pulled the clothes out. It was black, tight, really short, like it had a personal vendetta against modesty. Kelly's jaw dropped. "Ariana," he said slowly, "what the hell is that?" "Your outfit." "That's not an outfit," he snapped. "This is skimpier than half my club looks." "I already bought it," she replied flatly. Ariana tossed the outfit onto his lap. "No more excuses, Kelly. Get dressed. We're going." Kelly looked down at the scandalous fabric, then up at the ceiling, like he was praying for divine intervention. None came. "Fine," he muttered. And just like that, Kelly Whitmore had no excuse left at all. The Vale Mansion was already vibrating with music by the time they arrived. Expensive cars lined the curb. Ariana grabbed his wrist the second they stepped through the front doors. They moved through the crowd, and that was when Kelly felt it. That look. He didn't even have to turn his head to know someone was staring. But of course, he did anyway. Leaning against the far wall near the staircase was James, hands in his pockets like he was bored. His face was sharp in a way that made people stare twice, and his eyes were locked directly on Kelly. Kelly's step faltered for half a second before he caught himself and lifted his chin, walking past like he hadn't noticed a thing. Ariana, however, definitely noticed. "Oh my God," she hissed, the second they reached the bar. "Did you see that?" Kelly leaned against the counter, pretending to examine the drink options. "See what?" "James," she whispered loudly. "He couldn't keep his eyes off you." Kelly rolled his eyes so hard it hurt. "Please, that did not happen." Ariana grabbed his face and turned his head to face her. "Telly, I am not joking. He looked like you personally offended him by existing hotly." "That's just his face," Kelly said dismissively. "He looks like that at everyone." "No," Ariana said. "That was targeted." Kelly waved her off. "You're dramatic. I'm observant." A few minutes passed. Then Ariana set her glass down. "Oh," she said casually. "By the way," Kelly narrowed his eyes. "By the way what?" She grabbed his hand and dragged him down a hallway and shoved open the door to one of the upstairs bedrooms. Inside, the vibe changed instantly. The music was quieter. The lights were dimmer. A group of their close friends sat sprawled across the bed and floor, with a few strangers mixed in, red cups in hand, laughter loud and reckless. "Come play truth or dare with us," someone shouted the second they noticed them. Kelly groaned. "Absolutely not." "Oh, absolutely yes," Ariana said, pushing him inside and shutting the door behind them. "You're playing." "I didn't agree to this," Kelly protested. A girl he recognized patted the floor beside her. "Sit, rich boy." Another guy grinned. "No backing out." Kelly glanced at Ariana. She smiled sweetly. "You set me up," he accused. She gasped. "I would never." Kelly sighed and sat down anyway, crossing his legs dramatically. "Fine, but if this gets embarrassing, I'm suing." The group laughed. A few rounds in, the room was louder. Kelly had already survived 1 embarrassing truth and 2 dares. He was just starting to relax when the bottle spun again and pointed directly at him. The group erupted. Kelly's turn again. Dare, another voice chimed in immediately, not even giving him a choice. Kelly sighed. Of course it is. The girl holding the bottle grinned wickedly. Okay, dare. She scanned the room theatrically, then snapped her fingers. Sit on one random guy's lap for the next 30 minutes. Kelly froze. Ah, you're joking. Nope. His eyes darted around the room. Familiar faces, strangers, all of them looking way too entertained. Grudgingly, Kelly stood and picked the least threatening option. A guy leaning against the headboard, clearly drunk and clearly thrilled by this development. Kelly lowered himself onto the guy's lap with exaggerated reluctance, adjusting his balance and crossing one leg over the other. There, he said sharply. Happy? The guy's hands settled on Kelly's waist, then slid just a little lower, resting on his thighs. Kelly stiffened. Behave your hands, he warned under his breath. The guy laughed. Relax. Kelly did not relax. A few seconds passed. Laughter continued. And then the bedroom door opened. The room shifted. James stepped inside. He leaned casually against the doorframe, eyes sweeping the room until they landed on Kelly. More specifically, on the hands gripping Kelly's thighs. James' jaw flexed. The guy beneath Kelly didn't notice. His hands were too comfortable now. James stared, hard. Kelly swallowed and resisted the urge to look back. Then James spoke, voice calm. Mind if I join? Every single person in the room turned to look at him. Ariana's eyes widened. Yeah, the girl with the bottle said quickly. Sure, grab a seat. James pushed off the doorframe and walked in. James sat directly across from him. Kelly didn't know why, but suddenly, sitting on someone else's lap felt like a bad idea. The bottle spun again, slowing with exaggerated drama. It pointed at him. Kelly again, someone groaned. He groaned louder. I'm cursed. Dare, someone suggested immediately. Fine, dare. A mischievous grin spread across a random girl across the room. I dare you to kiss the person you think is the most dangerous in this room. Kelly's eyes went wide. Excuse me? Ariana nearly fell off the bed laughing. Oh, this is perfect. Kelly's heart immediately did a weird flip because there was only one person in the room that fit that description. And yes, he was sitting very conveniently across from him. James, and his dark eyes were already locking onto his. I guess, Kelly stammered, glancing at Ariana for backup. She just shrugged, smirking. He got up from the now disappointed-looking random guy's lap and crawled forward reluctantly. Then he pressed his lips to James. There was a collective ooh sounded around them. James didn't pull away. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, deepening the kiss. Kelly's knees went weak. When they finally pulled apart, Kelly blinked rapidly. Ariana gasped. That was so hot. James smirked. So, you taste like trouble. Kelly's jaw dropped, and he hurriedly shifted to sit on the floor next to Ariana, glaring at the random girl that said the dare. The girl just laughed, like nothing had happened. Round after round passed. Thankfully, the bottle wasn't pointed to him. People were spilling secrets, taking dares that were borderline criminal. And Ariana kept nudging Kelly with far too much enthusiasm every time he avoided eye contact with James. The bottle spun and stopped. It was pointing directly at Kelly. Again. And worse, James' smoke appeared as he leaned forward slightly. Truth or dare? James asked, voice low, smooth, and dangerous in a way that made Kelly's stomach twist. Truth, Kelly replied quickly. There was no way he'd choose dare. James tilted his head. All right then, tell me, Kelly, if you were alone with me right now, would you want me to kiss you again? The room collectively gasped. Ariana nearly choked on her drink. Kelly's face turned 50 shades of crimson. Excuse me? Kelly stammered. What kind of? James leaned back casually. Answer me. Kelly's mind was spinning. A small, guilty part of him couldn't stop thinking about James' lips, his stare. Kelly looked at James, whose smirk had only grown wider, and whispered, No. Someone snorted. No. James echoed, arching a single eyebrow. Kelly straightened, trying to look nonchalant. No, he repeated, louder this time. I do not want to be alone with you, in the first place. The words hung in the air. Absolutely not believable. James leaned back, pretending to be disappointed, though the corner of his mouth twitched like he was trying to stop himself from smiling. All right then, he said smoothly. A few rounds later, the group decided to switch it up. Enough truths, someone shouted. Dares only. Let's see some action. Kelly's stomach sank. Dares were chaos. I'm not playing that one, Kelly muttered quickly, tugging Ariana closer. She grinned at him knowingly. Good call, she said, looping an arm through his. Well, just cheer from the sidelines. Kelly was more than happy to stick to her side. They stood up from the ground to sit on the bed. You're such a coward, Ariana teased quietly, nudging his side. I'm strategically avoiding danger, Kelly muttered, though he couldn't stop stealing glances at James. Throughout the rest of the party, Kelly clung to Ariana, watching the game unfold. Kelly escaped the bedroom with the excuse of going to the bathroom. He walked out of the bedroom and headed straight for the bathroom at the end of the hall. He locked the door behind him and adjusted his outfit, because of course it had ridden up, and splashed some cold water on his face. Then, the door unlocked. Kelly spun around. Excuse me, it's occupied. James stepped inside and calmly shut the door behind him. Kelly's heart dropped straight into his stomach. Are you kidding me? Kelly snapped. It's occupied. James leaned back against the door, completely unbothered. Up close, he was taller than Kelly expected, presence heavier. Like he took up more space just by existing. Relax, James said evenly. I just wanted to talk. Kelly scoffed. Pretty sure cornering someone in a bathroom isn't talking. James' lips twitched. Fair. Silence stretched between them. I'm James, he said finally. Kelly laughed, unimpressed. I know who you are. James' eyebrow lifted slightly. Yeah, you're the dangerous transfer student, Kelly said flatly. Kicked out of 3 schools, unknown reasons. James studied him for a moment. And you're Kelly, he replied. Popular. Always pretending you're bored. Kelly rolled his eyes. I am bored. Sure, James said calmly. Kelly straightened, folding his arms. Listen, whatever this is, whatever you think tonight was, it was just a game. A stupid dare. I don't want anything to do with you. James didn't smile. Instead, he took one slow step forward. Kelly didn't step back. He refused to. Why? James asked quietly. Did you lie earlier? Kelly's breath hitched. Lie about what? You said you wouldn't want me to kiss you again, James continued, voice low, almost teasing. That wasn't true. Kelly's jaw tightened. You don't know me. He shoved past James, unlocking the door. Stay away from me, he said sharply. Monday morning came fast. Kelly walked beside Ariana through the halls, clutching his iced coffee like it was emotional support while she talked nonstop. I'm just saying, Ariana continued, eyes sparkling far too much for his liking. The way he followed you into the bathroom? Straight out of a dark romance. It was not romance, Kelly hissed. It was terrifying. Terrifying hot, she corrected. Kelly stopped walking. Ariana. She turned, still smiling. Yes, I need you to help me keep James away from me. But kinda like the drama, she admitted. And he's clearly obsessed. I am not a side quest in someone's villain arc, Kelly snapped. Ariana shrugged. You kissed him. It was a dare. And you want to kiss him again, she added sweetly. Kelly opened his mouth to argue when a shadow fell over them. His stomach dropped. James stood there. Backpack slung over one shoulder. Ariana, James said politely, nodding at her. Mind if I speak to Kelly for a minute? Ariana's eyebrows shot up. Kelly's eyes widened. He immediately shook his head no, silently begging her. She looked between them. Then she smiled. Sure, she said brightly. And with that, she walked off down the hallway, completely ignoring Kelly's glare of betrayal. James stepped closer, lowering his voice. Relax. I'm not here to cause trouble. Kelly laughed humorlessly. That's literally your reputation. James' lips curved into a faint smirk. You shouldn't believe everything people say. I believe my survival instincts, Kelly shot back. And they're screaming. James studied him for a moment, then said, I just want to talk. Kelly swallowed. About what? James hesitated, then spoke. About the fact that I can't stop thinking about you, he said. And I really want to get to know you. Kelly froze. For half a second, the hallway noise faded. The lockers, the voices. All he could hear was his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. That's not my problem, Kelly said sharply, forcing his voice steady. And I don't want you to get to know me. James' expression changed into something sadder. Kelly, no, Kelly cut in. I want you to stop thinking about me, Kelly continued, words spilling out faster now. Stop watching me, stop following me, just leave me alone. James didn't say anything, his gaze still locked on Kelly. Kelly hated that part of him wanted James to argue harder. Instead, Kelly turned on his heel. Stay away from me, he said over his shoulder. And then he walked away, fast. He didn't want to get acquainted with the bad boy for any reason. But he didn't know that James had been expelled 3 times for the same reason. Not because he started fights, because he finished them. At his first school, it had been a boy who couldn't fight back. Cornered behind the gym, laughed at while someone filmed, James had stepped in. He remembered the sound of his knuckles hitting bone more clearly than the principal's voice afterward. At the second school, it was a girl in a locker room. Hands where they didn't belong. James hadn't even waited for her to ask before stepping in. The third school had been worse. Each time, the story was the same. James was dangerous. James was unstable. So when he transferred here, he promised himself he'd keep his head down. Then he saw Kelly Whitmore. Too bright, too visible, too used to attention to notice when it shifted from admiration to something darker. James noticed it immediately, at the party. While everyone was laughing, drinking, spinning bottles, James noticed Evan Cross. Evan Cross, third year, quiet reputation, friendly smile. The kind of guy teachers trusted and girls felt safe around. The kind James hated. Kelly sitting on his lap hadn't been the problem. Evan's grip had been too tight, fingers digging into Kelly's thighs like he'd already decided Kelly was a prize he'd won. He'd seen Evan watching Kelly afterward too. Not openly, not obviously. Today was the confirmation. James had been leaning against the lockers when he saw Evan again, pretending to scroll on his phone while Kelly and Ariana walked past. His eyes followed Kelly with the same toxic hunger James had seen before. Kelly didn't know. Of course he didn't. Kelly lived in a world where attention felt harmless. Kelly walking away like James was the threat hurt more than he expected. Kelly might think James was the most dangerous boy in the school, but the real danger was already watching him. James stayed out of Kelly's immediate orbit for the next few days. Not because he wasn't thinking about him. He was, but he was patient. Some days later, on the way home, the car ride home was unusually quiet. Kelly sat in the passenger seat of Ariana's sleek white car. Ariana glanced at him for the third time in second. "You're thinking very loudly," she said. Kelly scoffed. "That's not a thing." "It is when you do it," she replied. "You've been sighing like you're in a sad movie." Kelly rolled his eyes. "I'm fine," Ariana hummed. "So, James." Kelly stiffened. "What about him?" Ariana smirked. "You mean the dangerous transfer student who dramatically confessed he couldn't stop thinking about you and then mysteriously vanished from your life?" Kelly frowned slightly. "He didn't vanish. I told him to stay away from me." "Exactly," Kelly shrugged. "Which proves my point." "And that point is that he probably doesn't actually like me like that," Kelly said, staring out the window. "He was probably just bored, or caught up in the party." Ariana raised an eyebrow. Kelly continued, "And honestly, it's better this way. Less drama, less stress. I told him to leave me alone, and he did. End of story." Ariana didn't respond right away. The car slowed at a red light. She turned to look at him fully now. "You don't sound relieved," she said. Kelly scoffed again. "I am." Ariana watched him for a long moment. "You know," she said slowly, "James doesn't strike me as the type to back off." Kelly's fingers curled slightly in his lap. "Maybe you're wrong." "Maybe," she agreed. The next week, Kelly was walking with Ariana after last period, gossiping about something unimportant, when a familiar voice cut in beside them. "Hey," Kelly turned. Evan Cross. It took a second for his brain to place him. Then it clicked. True Verdere. Kelly forced a smile instantly. "Oh, hey," he said. "You're Evan, right?" Evan smiled, clearly pleased he'd been remembered. "Yeah, I didn't think you'd remember me." "Of course I do." Ariana's eyes flicked between them with curiosity, but she stayed quiet. Evan walked a little closer, matching Kelly's pace. "I've seen you around a lot. I was wondering if I could get your number? You seem cool." Kelly's first instinct was to say no. His second instinct was to be nice. He glanced at Ariana. She raised her eyebrows, clearly entertained. "Sure," he said, already pulling out his phone. "Why not?" Evan grinned, satisfied as he typed his name into Kelly's contacts. "There," Kelly said, locking his phone. "Just don't be weird." Evan laughed. "No promises." They said their goodbyes. The moment he was gone, Ariana leaned in. "Interesting." Kelly groaned. "Don't start. You gave him your number." Kelly shrugged. "I was being polite." That night, Evan texted, and Kelly didn't text Evan back. Not because he was playing hard to get. He just didn't feel like opening that door. His phone was on silent, tossed onto his bed while he showered, changed, and fell asleep, telling himself it was no big deal. It wasn't until the next morning that he finally checked his notifications. His stomach dropped. 20 texts. 30 missed calls, all from Evan. Kelly's stomach twisted. Hey, you busy? Did I say something wrong? LOL. Okay, why aren't you answering? Don't ghost me, Kelly. Answer me. The last message sat alone at the bottom of the screen. I know you saw this. Kelly's fingers went cold. He locked his phone without replying. That day, Kelly avoided the main halls. He took the quieter corridor near the art wing instead. Ariana had gone ahead to talk to someone, so Kelly was alone for once. Kelly. Evan stepped out from between two classroom doors. Kelly stopped short. Oh, Kelly said with a nervous smile. Hey, Evan smiled back, but it was tight, controlled. You didn't text me back, Evan said. Kelly shrugged lightly. My phone was on silent. All night? Kelly hesitated. Yes, Evan took a step closer. You know, Evan said calmly, most people check their phones before sleeping. Kelly's back brushed the lockers. That's not really. I called you 30 times, Evan continued, voice still pleasant. That usually means something's wrong. Kelly laughed nervously. That's a lot. Evan leaned in, close enough that Kelly could smell his cologne. I don't like being ignored, Evan said quietly. Something in his tone made Kelly's breath hitch. I wasn't ignoring you, Kelly said quickly. I just didn't see. Evan's hand lifted, not touching, hovering. Kelly's heart hammered. Then just as suddenly, Evan stepped back. He laughed, bright and easy, like a switch had been flipped. Relax, Evan said. You should see your face. Kelly blinked, confused. I'm joking, Evan added, holding up his hands. You're cute when you panic. Kelly swallowed. Yeah, funny. Evan tilted his head, studying him. You're bad at pretending, you know. Before Kelly could respond, Evan stepped aside, clearing the hallway. See you around, Evan said cheerfully. Kelly didn't move until Evan was gone. His hands shook. It didn't stop there. Evan started appearing everywhere, too often to be coincidence. At Kelly's locker, leaning casually nearby. In the cafeteria, already seated at a table Kelly usually chose. Outside classrooms Evan wasn't enrolled in. Always smiling, always watching. Sometimes Evan didn't even speak. He'd just look at Kelly and smile like he knew something Kelly didn't. Kelly started keeping his phone in his hand at all times in case of emergencies. Started glancing over his shoulder. James noticed. He noticed Kelly's shoulders tighten the moment Evan entered a room. The way Kelly shifted closer to Ariana instinctively, the way his laughter sounded forced. And James noticed Evan too. From across the quad, James watched Evan lean close to Kelly's ear and murmur something that made Kelly stiffen. James' jaw clenched. He'd seen this pattern before, the slow push, the testing of boundaries, the way predators hid behind jokes. Kelly finally cracked on Thursday. On their way to school, just a quiet moment in Ariana's car, his eyes fixed on the window, like he was afraid Evan might appear in the reflection. Evan keeps showing up, Kelly said finally. Everywhere. Ariana immediately sat up. She knew it was serious. Immediately he spoke. How? She asked softly. Kelly hesitated. He watches me and says weird things, and when I don't react the way he wants, he would say, it's a joke. He swallowed. I don't think he's joking. Ariana's jaw tightened. We should tell someone, she said. No, Kelly cut in immediately. I don't want this to be a big thing. I just want it to stop. Ariana sighed. You're not wrong. But you're not safe either. Kelly looked away. Please, don't tell anyone. Ariana nodded slowly. Okay, but she did not listen. After school, Ariana didn't go home. She found James instead, head lowered like he was trying to disappear. He looked up when her shadow fell across him. She crossed her arms. I know you like Kelly. James simply nodded. Evan Cross keeps cornering Kelly, she said. Kelly's scared, even if he won't admit it. James stood. I'm not asking you to start something, Ariana said quickly. I'm asking you to watch out for him. James didn't hesitate. I already am. The next morning, Kelly nearly dropped his coffee when James appeared beside him at his locker. Morning, James said calmly. Kelly blinked. Hi? Ariana, traitor that she was, suddenly remembered she had somewhere else to be. Kelly shot her a glare. She mouthed, sorry, and vanished. James leaned against the locker next to his, casual. You look tired. Thanks, Kelly muttered. I love unsolicited observations. James huffed a quiet laugh. You always this dramatic? Kelly paused. Only when I'm stressed. James nodded like that confirmed something. Walk with me. That wasn't a question, Kelly said. Nope. And somehow, Kelly did. They talked about nothing important at first. Classes, teachers, music. James had dry humor, the kind that snuck up on you. Kelly found himself smiling without meaning to, forgetting to watch the halls. By lunch, they were sitting together. By afternoon, people had noticed. Evan definitely noticed. Kelly felt lighter, safer. That evening, outside the school gates, James stopped walking. I'm heading this way, he said. Kelly nodded, disappointed before he could stop himself. Yeah, okay. James studied him for a moment. You all right? Kelly nodded. Yeah, thanks, for today. James' lips curved faintly. Anytime. James turned and walked away. Kelly watched him go, and didn't see Evan standing far away. Fist clenched. Kelly needed air. After school, after the way his day had quietly revolved around James without him meaning it to, he texted Ariana to go home without him and headed toward the small ice cream shop a few blocks down. He told himself he just needed time alone to figure out what he felt. After getting the ice cream, he stepped out of the shop with a cup in hand. That's when he heard it. Footsteps. Kelly's shoulders tensed, and he took a few more steps forward. A hand suddenly grabbed his arm and yanked him back, hard. Where do you think you're going? Kelly gasped, stumbling, ice cream slipping from his fingers as he was spun around. Evan, his smile was gone. What the hell? Let go of me, Kelly snapped, trying to pull free. Evan's grip tightened instead, fingers digging into Kelly's arm. I saw you today, Evan said, voice low and sharp. With him. Kelly's heart pounded. You're hurting me. Evan ignored it. What were you doing with James? Evan demanded. You suddenly best friends now. Is that why you started ignoring me? That's none of your business, Kelly shot back, trying again to pull away. Evan leaned closer, eyes dark. I was nice, and you repay me by hanging around someone like that. His hand squeezed tighter. Kelly sucked in a breath. Evan, stop. Or what? Evan sneered. You gonna run to him now? Kelly's arm throbbed. Fear curled tight in his chest. Let him go. The voice was calm, deadly calm. Both of them froze. James stood a few steps away, jaw tight, eyes locked on Evan in disgust. Evan scoffed. This doesn't concern you. James took one step closer. Let him go. Evan laughed nervously. You think you scare me? He didn't get another word out. James moved fast, one sharp punch to Evan's face. Evan staggered back, clutching his nose, shock written all over him as he hit the pavement. James turned immediately to Kelly. Are you hurt? James asked, voice rough now, hands hovering, but not touching. Kelly's arm ached. He looked down and saw the red marks already blooming into bruises. His breath shook. I think I'm okay. James' jaw clenched so hard a muscle jumped. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I shouldn't have let him get that close. Kelly looked up at him, still trembling. You followed me? James nodded. I told Ariana I'd keep an eye out. Kelly swallowed. Maybe telling someone was a good idea after all. Thank you, he said. James nodded once. Anytime. After that night, things changed. James started showing up everywhere. Not in a creepy way like Evan. Head walk with Kelly. Sit nearby, always scanning the corners. Evan doesn't really look at me anymore, Kelly said, quietly one afternoon as they walked past the bleachers after PE. So you don't have to keep watching out for me. James nodded. But I want to. Kelly wanted to roll his eyes, but the way James' eyes flicked around the school made him pause. That protectiveness was oddly comforting. One afternoon, as they were walking out of the science building, Ariana spotted them from across the quad. Her grin was immediate and mischievous. Well, she called, striding over. Would you look at you two? Hanging out all day. Look at you, Kelly, laughing so much, I almost don't recognize you. Kelly froze mid-step. His cheeks burned pink. I am not. Ariana waved a hand. Don't lie to me. You're grinning like a complete idiot. James smirked faintly at Kelly's flustered expression, amused. Shut up, Kelly muttered nervously. Ariana threw her hands up, still grinning. I'm just saying, I haven't seen him like this, James. You're interfering with my territory. James chuckled softly, shrugging. Territory? I'm just keeping him safe. Kelly's blush turned hotter. You're, annoying sometimes. Ariana laughed. This is so fun. Look at you two. Honestly, Kelly, I didn't know you had it in you. Kelly glared at her, hiding his smile behind his hand. James' eyes sparkled faintly with amusement. Kelly realized he didn't hate this. He didn't even want it to end. James kept him safe, made him laugh, and made him feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. It was a few weeks later. The weekend was supposed to be quiet. Kelly had spent the afternoon lounging on his bed, scrolling lazily through his phone, listening to music. A knock on the door startled him. He frowned. Ariana? She sometimes dropped by unannounced. Coming, he called, swinging the door open without thinking. The moment the door swung, his stomach dropped. Evan stood there, smiling, and in front of him was Ariana. Her hands was held tight behind her, muffled by a piece of cloth pressed over her mouth. Her eyes were wide, panicked. Kelly, she tried to whisper through the cloth, but it barely came out. Evan's smile widened, the kind that made Kelly's blood run cold. Let us in, he said, voice low and dangerous. Kelly froze. What are you doing? He stammered, his heart hammering. Evan took a slow step forward. I said, let us in. Ariana shook her head, silently begging him not to comply. Kelly swallowed hard. The fear curling in his chest was sharp and suffocating. He took a hesitant step back, opening the door wider. Please, he whispered, just don't hurt her. Evan's grin widened, taking a confident step inside. And just like that, the weekend Kelly thought would be quiet turned into a nightmare he wasn't ready for. Evan shoved Ariana into the sitting room roughly, making her stumble. Quiet, he hissed, pressing the cloth more firmly over her mouth as he guided her toward the chair. Kelly's stomach dropped. Evan, stop! Let her go! Evan ignored him, moving with unnerving calm as he tied Ariana's wrists to the chair. Each knot was tight, precise, like he had done this before. Kelly's hands shook. He knew he had to do something. He fumbled for his phone when Evan wasn't looking, making sure to hide it from his view, sliding his thumb over the contacts. James. He tapped it. No answer. He cursed under his breath. He had to do something. Evan, still focused on securing Ariana, didn't notice Kelly inching closer. Desperate, Kelly threw a punch toward Evan's shoulder. Evan caught him and twisted his arm with frightening strength, yanking Kelly off balance, and slammed him to the floor. Pain shot up Kelly's arm. Evan leaned over him, voice calm. You're not very smart, Kelly. You want to know how I caught her? Kelly glared up at him, struggling to push himself upright. You're insane. Evan went back to tying Ariana's legs to the chair, ignoring Kelly's struggles. I was going to come for you first. Sneak inside, make sure you were alone. But then I saw her coming in. He gestured toward Ariana, who tried to scream through the gag. So I realized I had to shut her up first, before I could get to you. Kelly's heart pounded, fear twisting his stomach into knots. Evan finally finished tying Ariana's wrists and legs. Now, Evan said, grabbing Kelly roughly by the arm, come with me. Kelly struggled, but Evan's grip was iron. Ariana's muffled shouts turned into yells, panic in her eyes, her voice cracking through the gag. Kelly's pulse raced. Ariana! He shouted, trying to tug free, but Evan dragged him toward his room, kicking the door shut behind them. Meanwhile, James had just finished his shower and started putting on clothes when he saw his notification. Kelly just called. He hit call back. No answer. A flash of panic hit him. He grabbed his jacket and sprinted out the door, taking his bike. Meanwhile, inside Kelly's room, the situation was escalating. Evan had shoved Kelly toward the bed, ignoring the bruises already blooming along Kelly's arms from earlier struggles. Sit still. Evan snapped, pulling Kelly's wrists together and attempting to tie them with the same calm precision he'd used on Ariana. Kelly's arms throbbed violently with each tug, but adrenaline overrode the pain. No! Kelly shouted, twisting violently. He swung his fist, landing a glancing punch against Evan's jaw. Evan's head jerked back, a growl rumbling in his throat. His calm demeanor cracked into something dangerous. You little, Evan hissed, anger flashing in his eyes. You think hitting me helps? Evan lunged to grab him again, but Kelly twisted under his grip. Every movement was painful, but he knew he had to fight. He was bruised, sweaty, and glaring at Evan with every ounce of defiance he could muster. And Evan, already angry, wasn't backing down. After a while struggling, Evan smiled. "You're not getting away this time," he said, finally finishing the knots around Kelly's wrists and ankles. Kelly's arms and legs throbbed from both the tying and the earlier struggles. He slumped against the bed, tears stinging his eyes, not just from pain, but from fear, humiliation, and the helplessness of it all. Evan pulled off his shirt casually, watching Kelly with a twisted intensity. Outside, James' bike tires screeched against the pavement as he raced toward Kelly's house. After running up the stairs because the elevator was too slow, James had already noticed the apartment door suspiciously ajar. He moved inside quietly, noticing Ariana tied in the sitting room. Without hesitation, he ripped the cloth from her mouth. "Ariana," he said sharply. She blinked up at him, panic still in her wide eyes. "James, he took Kelly upstairs," she said hurriedly. James didn't need any more information. He bolted upstairs. The moment he reached Kelly's room, James froze for a heartbeat. Then fury overtook everything. Evan was hovering over Kelly with a smug, twisted smile. Kelly, bruised and shaking, looked up, and his eyes widened in relief when he saw James. James didn't a word. He moved, fast. Evan barely had time to react before James slammed him against the wall with brute force. The room echoed with the impact. Kelly, still tied up, watched wide-eyed as Evan passed out and slid to the floor from the punches he hadn't expected. But James didn't stop. He pinned Evan with a hand on his chest, still punching. James' voice was ice. "You hurt him." Kelly's mouth went dry. He hadn't realized James could look like that, so terrifying, so lethal. He felt a mix of fear and awe. After a long moment did he step back, allowing Kelly to see the full measure of what James could do. Kelly's hands shook. "James," he whispered, voice small. James finally turned to him, voice softer now, but still firm. "You're safe now." Kelly's heart pounded in relief and something deeper stirring in his chest. James moved quickly, efficiently untying him. James helped him to his feet gently, his hands careful, completely the opposite of the storm he had just unleashed on Evan. Ariana was untied next. "Thank you," Ariana whispered, voice trembling. James gave her a tight nod. Kelly stood stiffly, still trying to catch his breath. His eyes met James, and something unspoken passed between them. He didn't think he'd actually come in time. Kelly swallowed hard. James' eyes softened, just slightly. "I told you. I'm not letting anyone hurt you. You're safe." Kelly let out a shaky laugh in relief. "Safe with you." James' lips twitched in a hint of a smile, but it didn't break the dangerous edge in his eyes. "That's right, with me." Ariana, watching them, rolled her eyes with a smirk. "Aw, cut the romance already. You two look ridiculous." Kelly's blush heated his cheeks. Later that evening, after the cops had been called for Evan, and he had been taken to the police station, after Kelly's arms and legs were treated, and after Ariana left to go home, Kelly and James sat on the couch. James leaned back, eyes fixed on him. "I saw Evan's obsession, Kelly." Kelly frowned. "How did you know?" James' eyes softened, gaze steady. "Because I've been through it before. The reason I got expelled from my previous schools, it's not what people think." He hesitated. "I noticed people hurting the people I cared about, so I got into fights and got in trouble for defending others. And sometimes I went too far." Kelly blinked. "You're saying you've always been like this?" James shrugged lightly, a ghost of a smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe. But it worked. I learned to read people early, and I noticed Evan. The signs were clear. Has unstable. You don't deserve that." Kelly swallowed, heart hammering. A week later, James did something unexpected. Kelly was in the library when James approached, looking slightly nervous. Hey," James said. "So, I was thinking, maybe we could go out, like a date." Kelly blinked, staring at him. "You're asking me out?" James swallowed hard. "Yeah, if that's okay." Kelly couldn't help it. He laughed. "Shy and dangerous. Nice combo." James scowled lightly, a hint of blush creeping onto his cheeks. "It's not that funny." Kelly grinned, leaning back in his chair. "No, it's adorable." James groaned, but extended a hand. "Come on then, I picked the place. Ice cream, safe and casual." Kelly smiled and took his hand. The date was a mess in the best possible way. James was nervous, knocking over a straw, spilling ice cream, and apologizing excessively. Kelly laughed the whole time, teasing him relentlessly. By the end of the night, as they walked back toward Kelly's apartment, James held his hand gently. "You were amazing tonight," James muttered. Kelly smirked. "Yeah? Don't let it go to your head, dangerous boy." James laughed softly, tugging him closer to place a quick peck on his lips. "Too late. It already has." Kelly smiled, pulling him in for a second kiss. Months passed. Kelly and James became boyfriends and inseparable. Ariana still joked about being the third wheel, often teasing Kelly for blushing at James' dirty jokes. One quiet evening, Kelly leaned against James' shoulder as they walked home from a late-night cafe, smiling softly. "I still can't believe I'm dating the most dangerous boy in school," Kelly murmured. James grinned, wrapping an arm around him. "And I can't believe you let me love you." Kelly laughed softly, pressing his cheek against James' chest. "Safe, dangerous, whatever you are, I like it." James chuckled, holding him tighter. And in that moment, Kelly was safe, he was happy. The end.